morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to be here. 20 years ago, I was in Yerevan for the first time, working with Armin in Unicomp, and it took us 20 years to get back, and I'm delighted to be here. My role is to be the moderator, so you preferably won't see me speak too much. Just a little bit about my background. I specialize in future trends, and I work with companies on strategy and innovation. The way this is going to, I want you to imagine, I've been living in Ireland for 25 years, that we're all sitting in a very large Irish pub. You're all having a pint of Guinness in your hand. There's an open fire. There's a dog by the open fire, and we're having a nice conversation about AI. This panel is about Industry.ai. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ask the panel members to introduce themselves. Then I'm going to ask Eric the first question. I will allow the people to comment on what Eric has to say, and then we move on from there. Now, if anybody in the audience has a burning question that they really would like to ask, please, please, please come forward and ask the question, because I want you to imagine this is a big pub where we're all having a conversation. So I will ask Jakob to introduce himself first, then Sasha, then Yervant, then Eric, and then Patrick.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be here. Thank you for the invite to attend this panel, very important. I was informed there is a translation to Armenian, so I can talk English, because I was informed also that the working language is English here. I'm Vice President of the Armenian National Assembly, and also I'm leading the Executive Committee of the Science and Engineering Development Council to the Advisory Council to the Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia. Previously, I was serving as a Minister for Transport and IT, and then founded the Minister of High-Tech Industry of Armenia, which is responsible for digitization, for high-tech industry, for the defense industry, and communications, in short.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Don't need you to be introducing yourself again, Sasha, do we?
No.
No.
Okay. I'm Yervant Zorian. I come from Silicon Valley. I represent a company called Synopsys, which is the leader in the EDA and the IP domain for chip design. So we're involved in chip design. We don't design our own chips. We support the chip designers by providing them building blocks and software. I'm chief architect and a fellow of the company, but I have the pleasure of also heading Synopsys Armenia operations, which is the Armenian affiliate, the R&D center in Armenia, a great team and a great outcome that we enjoyed for the last 20 years. This time I'm visiting Armenia to co-chair a conference from IEEE. It's called the East-West Design and Test Symposium, which today is one of the days. We started 2 days ago. We're continuing tomorrow as well. And that's a pleasure as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Eric.
So, good morning, everyone. My name is Eric de Munk. I'm the ambassador of Belgium here in Armenia. I believe that I'm the only person not being an engineer or a policymaker today, so very generous to EUICT to offer me a seat in this panel. But I'm arrived in Armenia 1 year ago, so I'm running what I call a startup embassy. So I have many connections with the startup environment here in Armenia, and I will share my views on the tech hub here in Armenia with a lot of pleasure.
Thank you. Patrick.
Hello. So my name is Patrick Groeneveld. I work for a company called AMD that you probably heard of. I'm also the finance chair of the Design Automation Conference, which is the largest conference in electronic design automation, already going on for 52 years now. I have my background is I live in Silicon Valley. I was with a startup called Magma Design Automation, where we started from a very small company and became a quite large EDA company until Synopsys bought us. Jervant and I, we have both been the chair of the Design Automation Conference in America. And I currently work on accelerating flows to map complex problems on complex AI problems on AI hardware. And that's a very complex and interesting problem, and I would like to talk to you more about that during this panel as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. Eric, your view on the ecosystem in Armenia.
Thank you, Ron. I will start by telling you a story. We just talked about iMac and chip design, etc. We have this R&D institute in Belgium, which is now globally known. 40 years ago, it was created with only as a spin-off of a university in Belgium with 70 employees, and it has now more than 5,500 employees across the world. Many of them, 8,050, are PhD students coming from everywhere. And the founder of iMac, Luc van den Hoof, is used to say that this diversity is driving innovation. And as an ambassador here, my role is to connect dots. And when I arrived 1 year ago, I was so impressed. The first event I attended was Silicon Mountains, by the way. And I was so impressed by, you know, this energy in the tech sector here in Armenia. And talking about diversity and innovation, you can see that first here, this ecosystem is based on the fact that you are a networked nation. It means that it's not only Armenia, but it is also all the diaspora in the world. You know, in the US, Silicon Valley, but also in Europe. In my own country, we have between 30 to 40,000 compatriots of Armenian origin, and it drives you, it gives you a lot of energy. Then, being in contact with many tech actors in Armenia, I discovered that you are really building, you know, this ecosystem to develop, you know, competencies from the younger age. You know, we have Armat with young students from 8 to 9 years old, developing their own ideas in robotics, in software development. I visited a school some weeks ago and was very impressed on how these children were capable to develop their own ideas. And I also visited Armat with Belgian companies, investors, entrepreneurs, and they were really impressed the way those young children were able to pitch their ideas in English. And we don't have that in Belgium, for instance. But you have TUMO, you have FAST, you have many initiatives to feed this competence pool that talent pool that we need to feed to bridge this gap that Sasha was talking about just before this panel. This is something that I see very specific to Armenia is the education, the number of startups connected with, you know, other companies worldwide, and this is a growing hub that we want to support. So 1 month ago, we had a huge delegation attending the World Conference of Innovation and Technologies here in Armenia. And I think that's the way we need to move forward, to put Armenia on the map. Many entrepreneurs, investors in Belgium don't know the potential of this country. And so my role, but I believe many people in this room today, is to connect, the ecosystem in Belgium, in Europe, to the Armenian ecosystem, because it's very promising.
Okay, thank you. Follow-on question, because Yervant, you're probably the best person to describe the ecosystem. But I've been chairing panels in Spain, Holland, Ireland. I was actually in Kazakhstan last week. They all tell the same story. And if I say that I think Armenia is too small to compete on the world stage in the world of AI, would I be wrong?
No, I think you'll be right. It will be able to make an impact, but in certain domains. AI is very wide. It will touch everything that we do. To be perfect in all of that is not possible. Therefore, we have to strategically choose the fields where we'd like to concentrate on. And Armenia being a small country with very talented technical workforce, it can concentrate on certain areas, which it's already doing. I know from my own domain, for instance, in the chip design tools today it's impossible to do chip design with human mind only. And also with the software, with the EDA tools, again, it's not possible. What you need AI helpers. You need AI co-pilot. Like the pilot and the co-pilot, AI co-pilot. So similar to the chip design where AI co-pilots already exist and we provide them to our designers, in every single field we need co-pilots. But we need to concentrate on the fields where we are strong at and work on those exceptionally.
If I may add, I do believe it's a huge chance using AI to build an industry and compete against large players, because AI is introducing a big chance. You don't start by zero. You have this kickstart by technology, which is somehow out-leveling the experience other industry sectors or countries collected over decades. Because you might need just a little expert team and applying kickstarting AI technology, and then you can make generalists being your experts and deliverables. So I do believe it's a strong opportunity to also build industries where maybe just only little pieces are existing today.
Absolutely, I agree with you. And Armenia has certain advantages as well. For instance, if you want to use AI in certain domains, the data restrictions are not as strong as elsewhere. If you want to use AI for health, you have lots of possibilities. If you want to, so even from the data perspective, you have possibilities to expand your presence. But we have to remember that when we speak about AI in Armenia, we're not speaking about AI only for Armenia to use it, but rather create it in Armenia and use it in the larger market.
Okay.
Again, Armenia not being a very large country, you don't create products only for the country, rather you create products that can be used globally. Interestingly, there are several companies that have been created in the past decade that they are already out there, they're already in Silicon Valley, they're already registered outside, and they operate on a global basis.
Jakob, where do you see the opportunities? Opportunities in AI for Armenia?
Thank you for the question. I think artificial intelligence itself as a technology opens a wide variety of opportunities for everyone, not only for the tech sector, but also for the other sectors, because I think the strength comes from the crossing knowledges, not only the technology knowledge, but also, for example, AI in different kind of sectors. For example, AI in arts, AI in music, AI in government governance, AI in elsewhere. And I think that with these tremendous changes in every industry, The best opportunity is when the industries itself, for example, someone is a big farmer in the agriculture, their workers should be learning more AI tools to manage their daily work. And I believe is that, my belief is that with the strength in technology, plus with the knowledge sharing bridges to the other industrial sectors, will be bringing the most results to Armenia. If we come to the economic level. In high tech, we basically in the advisory council's executive committee, together also with Yervant, who is the member of the executive committee, we came up with 5 directions, which is one is AI in general.
Yeah.
The second is aerospace and robotics.
Okay. Yeah.
The third one is microelectronics.
Yeah.
The fourth one is biotech and life science.
Okay.
And quantum technologies. Why these 5? Because, and basically they have their own niches, of course. It is not, we should think about that also, but Armenia has traditions in these fields. We have got traditions, and we have got multiple large players, such as Synopsys, Siemens EDA, AMD, which started from Xilinx, then AMD acquired, and different others. NVIDIA recently moved to Armenia with their own R&D. And again, it starts from the traditions, which is coming even from the Soviet times, when Armenia used to be known as a Silicon Valley of the Soviet Union, but also the traditions with which we inherited also became stronger with the diaspora's support. And the companies that have founded were extremely supported by diasporan Armenians and their connections to the centers like Silicon Valley and the European tech communities. My belief is that the synergy will bring the biggest opportunities for Armenia's growth.
Thank you. Patrick?
Yeah, I can maybe add, because I think that Belgium, the Netherlands, and Armenia are all small countries that punch way above their weight in terms of microelectronics. And you can kind of wonder why that's the case. And I think the start of it is that the government starts some intelligent and good programs to support this industry and make it work. The entire reason why I'm here now is because 40 years ago, the Dutch government decided to do similar programs as we have here. And then good things will happen by themselves. We don't know exactly where AI will get us, which part of AI will be good in, but you educate good engineers and industry will be developed by itself. All those years, we didn't have IMEC then before, we didn't have ASML in the Netherlands before those years, but it started because of the government starting this program and heavily encouraging it, and it was highly successful. If I now see at the kind of papers that we get at our conference, the small countries like this are heavily overrepresented compared to large companies like Germany, the UK, or France.
And why is that?
Yeah, I think the start is because the government truly encourages it and shows the love. Yeah, and I think that we have a conference like this is here that there's this love that exists. So I think that's the start, and then you educate good people, and they make great products and great companies. Yeah.
Sasha, educating good people. I'm writing a book on AI, and I'm utterly confused and worried, and particularly the conversation between AI intelligence, if that even is intelligent, and natural intelligence, observer effects, and all kinds of other really weird stuff. But if you would tell your kids what to study in the future, what would you tell them to go and study?
I love this question. So actually, let me start to tell you I have 3 girls.
Yeah.
So they are all in the age where they are not really take a decision on where to go in the future. So I still have influence. So my youngest one is 2, then I have a 6 years old and an 8 years old girl. So if we look into Central Europe, the majority of the woman society is not choosing tech as their way to go where they work in. So what I learned this morning is in Armenia it's different. There is a lot more women in tech. So what I'm doing in actually a lot of my daily conversations is I share what I do with my kids to not influence them, but give them the opportunity to experience and learn how wonderful technology is. Because I do believe is if you work in technology, you have a completely different view on things. So you might say it's very nice to use a smartphone. But if you understand what is happening in the background, I truly believe the experience is even different. So my true belief is if you ask me what you should do as a student, as a kid deciding where to go, technology is the place to go. And there is probably not the differentiation which technology you go. So you can choose AI, you can choose computer science, electronic engineering, but you can make an impact in these areas to how the world is behaving in the future. So I truly believe it's the place to go is technology.
Okay, so have you seen Ken Robinson on TED.com, where he asked the question, is the education system preparing the children for the future? And the answer is a resounding, in big neon letters, no. And he would highly recommend that in the future, actually, the engineers will be AI, and we really should teach our kids philosophy, arts, creativity, and all kinds of other things, and forget about engineering and technology. And Patrick is nodding his head, and I'm interested in Jervan's perspective as well. So, Jervan first.
Yes. I think that we will always need the engineers, we'll always need the innovators, but they will be helped by AI. But using AI also needs thinking with AI in mind, thinking with data in mind, thinking with large data that can feed that AI. Today, when we're talking about educating our kids need to learn from early ages what kind of data to collect, what kind of data to use, how can we take advantage of AI. That's why when Edward was mentioning earlier, the STEP.ai program for high school level teaching of AI, it starts by teaching the AI programs and next to it, data thinking, okay? Data science and data thinking is very important because you start composing yourself. We don't need to teach the details to our kids. We just give them the opportunity to take that and they will optimize it themselves, that is. I didn't tell my kids what to do. My son ended up studying data sciences and becoming an AI engineer at Meta by himself. But my direction was to give him the base technical knowledge. So if we give the base technical knowledge, I think they can go build on it and choose their own path.
Patrick,
I just wanted to make one comment because I was a bit frustrated about the no you said. It's definitely the opposite because even if AI would create everything, who is going to verify it? Who is going to tell what is needed? I think the engineering demand will be even by a few X higher than what we have today. Technology is simply exploding, and as you said, AI is just helping to somehow keep the pace.
Okay. Patrick?
Yeah, I have maybe slightly different angle. So if you ask me now, if you're a young person, you want to go into this business, everybody in the world will go into AI now, yeah? But if you want to be unique, you're better off going into hardware for AI because that is a harder problem. It is a complex engineering problem. So if you're in there, you're much more likely to have a great future than having to compete with the rest of the world on generic software. So, and I think many of you are in this business, and I would encourage people to really think about mapping of problems onto hardware and not forget the physical basis on which all these systems are built.
Eric.
We just heard answers from engineers. So I do believe that we won't educate all the kids in the world into AI, into engineering. I'm not sure that my daughter will be an engineer, even if she's very interested in iPhone, computers, etc., but for other reasons. But I do believe that we need to sensitize the young people to the many challenges that AI, but also chip development is proposing to the world. You know, if you have read the book by Chris Miller, Chip War, you understand, and as a diplomat, I understand that semiconductors is a challenge. It's a geopolitical challenge. So you need to understand that. But you need also philosophers to reflect on ethics and AI. You need to educate people to be less to have less fear towards AI, to introduce AI in education. EdTech is really important. So I believe, and here in Armenia, I talked about TUMO, for instance. They consider that probably coding is the new literacy. So you have this kind of initiative, educating young people to those challenges, to this technology, and this is very important, even if not every children will be an engineer in the end.
So if you had a choice for your children, if they were still younger, engineering or philosophy?
They have the choice, you know.
Yeah, okay, but if you would advise them.
I'm a free mind, you know. I don't want to influence my kids. I would love them to,
Okay, fair.
to be
So
in
that's a non-answer.
technology, in medicine, etc.
Jacob, what's your view?
I have 3 girls and 1 boy.
Yeah.
And they are all like, they are not in the university ages, like my colleagues. The oldest one is 12 years old. And they are studying in a very creative way. They learn music, they learn arts, they learn languages. And sometimes my wife is challenging me why I am not so much interested in what directions should they take. For example, my oldest girl. I think we should give them a chance to become a free persons, free enough and educated enough to choose their own path. Because, you know, when we talk about AI, we should also think about the policies and the morality and the ethics and what should be their implementation ways, what is the opportunities, what are the challenges, and philosophy, for example, will not be disconnected from AI. I think the governance is not already disconnected from AI, and all people's life are influenced by AI and technology. Every day we think that we control our lives, but our smartphones control our lives better.
Yeah.
When it rings, I pick it up, and when there is something happening in Facebook or Instagram or somewhere, it starts managing me, right? And sometimes we think about it, sometimes not. And the majority of the time we don't think about it. And all the professions that are currently exist, they are all influenced and will be influenced more by technology. And I think our challenge is to really give the chance to the kids to become free persons. Free persons who will be thinking of their professions to serve the humanity in the path of development and the technology, how the technology will serve our path. Because I think, of course, there are challenges connected with AI. Lots of people are talking about that. But I think in every industrial revolution, we had these kind of challenges. And I hope overall, I'm positive about these challenges, and we will overcome, and we will make that serve to the humankind. And I think the main challenge is really give the students the opportunity to be free enough to choose by their heart.
Okay.
And that's my opinion.
So freedom is an interesting concept, and we're now nearly becoming philosophical rather than industry-based. But if you look at data colonization and this winner-takes-all type of approach, where the top 5, 6 AI companies domain 80% of the market, then Sasha, how do you see Armenia and the tiny little industry that Armenia is in that context surviving?
Well, I think I said before, it's less a challenge than more than an opportunity. If a country now do things right, AI is more an enabler than a burden. It is true that the large conglomerates in the world, they are growing heavily. But on the other hand side, the technology and the demand in the market is outgrowing their growth. That means there is opportunity left and right and market share, which can be won by everybody who is going for it. And I do believe what I see today, Armenia is very hungry to go into new areas. Armenia is hungry in building up an industry. And if they apply AI into that, it can give them a big advantage in being faster than others. You brought the example of less regulations. Regulations is actually slowing down innovation. So this is a chance on the other hand side. So I do believe there can be a bright future applying AI to Armenia and competing with the world.
Okay, Patrick?
Yeah, I don't think, I mean, we see that you have a few large dominating companies, but there's in AI now so many startups and so many opportunities. I don't think that we are in that much of a danger of getting dominated, at least in the applications. In the hardware, it's maybe a little bit harder, but then large companies like the one I work for have a large presence here in Armenia as well. So I don't think that problem is that different in Silicon Valley as it is here in Silicon Mountains.
Gervant?
I fully agree. I agree with Patrick. The distances are not there anymore. Barriers are not there. So whatever applies to Armenia applies anywhere else as well. So it's all based on the talents that you have, you create, and they innovate. If you give them the chance, there are no barriers. We can go and excel.
But okay, just on this, Armenia, I did some homework on Armenia. There's still a lot of traditional industry, mining, agriculture. So do you think those sectors will be enhanced by AI, or will they be threatened by AI? Is it an opportunity or a threat?
Yeah, no, they all will be enhanced, I think. AI is a helper. In any field, we can get the help of AI and excel better, do more. So I don't see any field that will be hurt by AI. Rather, we'll see how they can be simplified such that AI will do the simple job and we will do the more sophisticated jobs ourselves.
But okay, there's a law of diminishing returns because you're not alone in the world. So there's other mining companies in other countries that are faster or slower than you are. So do you think Armenia will be able to keep up with those larger countries and the advancement in those industries? Because I can imagine, like Holland in agriculture is very different than agriculture in Armenia. And the application of AI in Holland is at a completely different level than the application of AI in Armenia. So you're going to have a competitive issue in the future. Sasha?
I would like to make one other point before.
Sure.
So we're talking about AI as an enabler. If you compare AI with a steam machine or with the introduction of electricity, that changed the industry completely. So it also gave tremendous opportunity for the ones who applied it. So coming to your point, is that a threat for traditional industries? It isn't. Because if you apply the right AI to your industry, you can get more efficient, you can get competitive. Think about the steam machine, what it did with mining, or think about what electricity did with these areas. And if you widen your view and think about what AI could do there, I think it's a tremendous opportunity.
Okay, but this is about context, and I'm not going to go into it, but you need to see this in a global, we're talking geopolitics, we're talking geoeconomics, and in that context, Armenian industry will have to compete with Dutch industry in agriculture, with semiconductors in Taiwan, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So AI is not a panacea for being competitive or not. There's definitely a difference between how you adapt AI in different countries. And I think Armenia has a huge opportunity, but it could also be a huge threat. Patrick, you were nodding your head? Or disagreeing, also good?
I was kind of thinking, because probably agricultural industry is a little bit more local, versus high tech is completely global. So as a result, the effects have to be assessed more local. And I don't think that AI will be a big threat for the local agriculture industry here.
Eric, please.
And on the contrary, it may be also an opportunity to attract, young people to the field and to work into agriculture. I believe that for the moment in Armenia there is a problem, attracting these competencies from the young people in agriculture. If you add, smart agriculture, and if you provide, new technologies, etc., to develop agriculture in a more modern way, it will attract these young people, and so I believe it is also an opportunity for Armenia.
Jakob, what do you think?
I think it's a complex question because, for example, in agriculture, I don't think that we compete with Belgium or Netherlands in agriculture, because the places where our agriculture industry serves, for example, is different than in Europe, and the scales are very different. But coming to your question, if the productivity will play its role, I think in some industries it will play its role, a major role, but in the other industries, the technological advancement will play less role. I think agriculture is very important, but I don't think that AI's role is the major role. I believe the position, the weather, the other infrastructure like connections, the logistics and market is playing some bigger role. Right now in Armenia, it plays bigger role because, and this sometimes also brings to the place where the agricultural sector is not getting much of a new technology, because honestly they might not need it, because in their value chain it plays a less role. Of course, it can change by time, but from industry to other is different. In mining, for example, Armenia is exporting copper, and it's a global market, and it's a global companies. Some major share of these companies, the local companies, are owned by global companies, and they apply their changes to everywhere in the world. The same will come to the agriculture, I think. For example, wine production. There are international companies that, for example, cognac factory owned by a French company. And if they apply it for France, they will apply also for Armenia. I mean, it's different. It is, and it's challenging to give the exact answer if it will, what will be the influence on the industrial point of view.
Patrick, one of the questions you asked me to ask you is about the ecosystem, because Armenia has lots of large companies there, and for an innovation ecosystem to thrive, you need a lot of startups. So how will you get more and more startups in Armenia, you think, and what's the role of the diaspora and talent in general?
That's a very good question. Startups in high tech outside of Silicon Valley have always been a little bit challenging. You always need this connection. If I would know the answer, all of Europe has a similar problem,
Yes.
that there's insufficient
Yes.
startups, and you at least need a big presence or a dependence in Silicon Valley to get it. The dynamic there can hardly be replicated, it looks like. So I can't give a good answer for you here yet.
Okay, yes, I agree that the startups need the necessary environment, necessary ecosystem. But that ecosystem in Armenia exists in various ways. Exists from the education side,
Yes.
because it has strong math and physics background, and now adding technological topics, adding the tumors of the world to that early area, adding step-that AI. So that's the education part.
Yeah.
Then comes research, and then comes development. There also we do have certain presence. We can, of course, always enhance. But having the startups and the multinationals at the same time help each other. The multinationals bring the business culture. The startups benefit from that and start creating their own solutions in addition. Now, even funding. We have certain companies that are funding in Armenia. So you have local funds, but also the international funds are present. So you see the mixture. But on top of all this, I see a very important factor, diaspora.
Yes.
As Hagop mentioned earlier, diaspora was fundamental in creating this sector initially. Until now, we have a very strong presence of the diaspora in Armenia in the tech sector. Most of our companies have strong diaspora components in them. And we have lots of Armenians who work in diaspora in these same companies. At Synopsys, we have many Armenians in Silicon Valley who also contribute. So that diaspora factor is also fundamental, I think, as we see. So ecosystem-wise, I think we have all the right components. We have to cook it properly and come up with the best results.
So Belgian startups compared to Armenian startups, and just I work with lots of climate change startups, and I was in Kazakhstan, and those startups would eat an Irish or Spanish startup for breakfast in a heartbeat. So how good are Armenian startups compared to Belgian startups?
Listen, that's a good question. I believe that in Belgium we have this environment where we have, good universities, good education, and a lot of R&D with support of the government. And we were talking about IMEC, but we can talk about biotech in Belgium, which is quite a prominent sector. Starting from the universities and spin-off, you have many startups funded by this ecosystem, this relationship between university, the public sector, and the private sector. So I believe that if you take this model, this can be, further developed here in Armenia with, the contribution of this ecosystem in Europe, for instance. We have many opportunities to integrate Armenian PhD student into our companies and to develop ideas and startup ideas to come back to the Armenian ecosystem itself and to feed the Armenian ecosystem. I believe that in biotech and in healthcare there are many things to do. In this delegation from Belgium 1 month ago, there was this company IBA. Which is active worldwide in cancer treatment. We know that in Armenia this is also a problem. We have a cyclotron here in Yerevan that can be upgraded, and let's have a dream through AI and those connections between Europe and Armenia, you could make of Armenia, a center of reference in cancer treatment with new technologies, with using AI. And this is one of the topics I'm working hard with Belgian companies. It's to develop, this partnership and to create this opportunity for Armenia.
Asha, Siemens and their innovation ecosystem and the role of startups in that, and then particularly Armenia. That's a big question. Sorry, Siemens has an ecosystem to keep on innovating. I presume you're using startups to do that. And then what do you do for startups in Armenia?
Good question. So we do tend as Siemens to fund startups quite a bit. So I can talk especially for Siemens EDA. So we are enabling a lot of startups over the world, in Armenia as well, with access to technology, also assigning our technical resources to do the foundational work to help them to get up to speed with the technology. And then on top of that, we have a program which is called Create Ventures, which is helping startups with the route to funding, but also with helping startups to qualify their idea with their natural customer. Yes. So what we do is we take the idea of a startup, and then ideally we harden this idea within Siemens. So in Siemens we have a lot of technology. We have a lot of different units. So we take often ideas from startups and present them to the natural customer. And if we then get a positive feedback, that is a very good indication that this startup has a good idea. And what we then do in the second step is we go to the customer of the customer. So we say to the end customer, if you would have this additional capability or feature, would that be a valuable product? So and then with that, we can enable the startup to get a very early market feedback, and this can be in a wide range of technology areas due to the way we are structured. So we do support startups quite a bit.
Okay. To follow on from that, because I lived in Ireland for quite a while, and what Ireland was like a little innovation space where particularly the large American companies would go and innovate, try new concepts, see if it got market traction in Ireland, and then expand it from here. It looks to me that Armenia is a perfect spot as an innovation hub for not only Europe and the United States, but also for the East. So is there a potential for Armenia to become an innovation gateway? And that's a question for Jakob and for Yervant.
Go ahead, Jakob.
So in my previous life, when I was an engineer, I was working for test and measurement leading company, National Instruments, which has had a branch in Yerevan, Armenia, and I was leading a partners program to the emerging markets, working with the partners who were leveraging our technology and delivering to the end users the full solutions, integrated solutions. And in my daily work with my colleagues, basically we helped to create around 20 partners in Armenia too, who are now in the engineering city program, backed up by the government of Armenia. And I would say that and myself, I was a co-founder with my friends of one of the technology companies, a startup. I could say that the working environment in the multinational companies such as Synopsys, Siemens EDA, and others, and National Instruments, is totally different from the environment of the startup.
Yes.
And some of the innovations cannot happen in the multinational companies, but they can happen in the small startup companies, even teamed by 2-3 people of engineers. And it is essential coming to your questions, it's essential to have a right ecosystem also around the multinational companies. And the multinational companies give the technology, knowledge, worldwide marketplace, the future technologies knowledge, etc. So this combination really brings Armenia to a front of innovation because we do have numbers of multinationals, and
Yes.
around them there are numbers of startups who leverage the technology and knowledge and the connections. And then on top of that, the venture capital companies, investment companies, as well as accelerators, innovation, and the most important part, the education from schools, TUMO, and other. And this all vibrant ecosystem connected to the diaspora and Armenians is bringing Armenia to the place where we believe that it will grow. And 7% of the GDPs in high tech is already a significant number, I think, with more than 50,000 engineers in the field. We believe that the future of technology is bright and the ecosystem is quite vibrant.
Yervant, gateway, innovation, Armenia is an innovation gateway.
Actually, it's factual. If Armenia was not an innovation place, those multinational companies wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
The reason Synopsys was here was to acquire one company that had innovation, then acquire the next one, then the third one. It acquired 4 companies which happened to have strong presence in Armenia with few hundred people. Today we are 1,300 people because of that innovation. So we built on it and grew. The same thing, if you look at Mentor, why Mentor or Siemens is here? Because of an acquisition. AMD, the same thing. So none of those companies started from first, second, third employee. They did not start from ground zero. They all came, acquired an innovation company, and built on top of it. So without having those innovation startups in Armenia, none of our multinationals would have been here.
Okay. It's 10 minutes left. Does anybody from the audience have a burning question that they would love to ask? Are we all shy? So imagine you're in a pub, you just had plenty of Guinness. Yes, you need to speak very loud. Or you can come forward if you want.
Yes, microphone.
Thank you, Sasha.
Good job.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your time and for coming here and for your insights. My burning question is about the risks. We have talked a lot about the opportunities, but none about the risks of the AI. So the question is, do you see that the risks of the AI developing faster than the human capability in the forthcoming 5 to 7 years?
That's a question for Patrick.
Yeah, the risk of AI is a very interesting ethical question. So most of us are technologists, so we just build stuff, and how it gets used, we feel a little bit is out of our responsibility. But there's definitely big risks of AI in, manipulating social media. The thing that I'm most afraid of personally is AI in actual weapons, flying hand grenades and other things. That scares me a lot. And I'm not sure what we can do against it, but if we get intelligent weapons, the world will not be a more pleasant place. I hope I can, but on the other hand, we also have to look at the positive effects that we get from AI, that we get better diagnosis for cancer or better screening for things, that we can automate things and make the world better with less work.
Sasha, you want to take that question as well? And I think I know what you're going to say.
I'm not a philosopher, so I see it more from the engineering side. Of course, every new technology has a risk. So it's on the society to come up with reasonable regulation for things. That's the one thing. But it's also down to the individuals to use technology for the right thing. So I'm also scared about what might be possible in the future. But if you look into the past, there was a lot of technology development which could have gone completely wrong, and somehow the human society managed to overcome that. So there is a risk, but every change brings a risk and we need to deal with it.
Again, education would help in that. As Hagop was mentioning earlier, moral values, ethics. If you raise your kids with the proper level of knowledge, education, the right way of thinking, then utilizing the technology for bad purposes will be much less. Any technology can be used for positive things and negative things, but it's us and our education and how we prepare the next generations.
I think in books, and there's a book called, it's titled Scary Smart by Mo Gadwan, and it talks about, because AI is fed by data, and the data we're feeding at the moment is pretty bad. If AI would go on Twitter, it probably would decide that maybe it's time to get rid of humanity, and we are all responsible by the data we feed everybody else. So if we become more polite and nice to each other online, the AI will become more and more nice and polite and will become more in sort of serving humanity. It's a very good book to read. So the last question, and it's a question for everybody on the panel, and we start with Jacob. If there's one thing that industry should do in the context of AI, what would you, there's one thing, one would you advise industry to do?
I think it is investments into education.
Okay. Sasha?
It's broad adoption.
Say that again.
Broad adoption of
Broad
AI?
adoption. You need to explain that.
Well, you can swim with the mainstream or you invest. If you invest into the new upcoming AI technology, which is everywhere, that doesn't mean that you need to develop it on your own. You can acquire it, you can use it from a third party, but I think it's essential that we try to apply it wherever it makes sense to bring up efficiency of processes, of methodologies, and the way we develop and work. So
Okay.
if I have one advice, adopt it.
Sure, of course.
I think the challenge is that, the times of slavery, people knew they are slaves. And they knew that if they burn in slaves' family, they are slaves. The kids are slaves and their kids are slaves. In the contemporary world, it may happen that people may be slaves, but they don't know that they are slaves. And that's the main challenge. And this challenge could be overcome only through education. Through education and people's decision. Because the decision makers should be well educated in human values, not only in technology, but also in human values, the ethics and the morality, etc. So that's why I suggest the companies to invest into education.
Thank you. Yervant.
First, I agree with the education part. We do invest a lot in education. We have to do more. But when it comes to AI for the industry, especially the industry in Armenia, we will all be users of AI, there is no doubt. But let's not just be users, but be creators of AI.
Okay, yes.
So you can be user or creator. So my recommendation would be creator, to be much more innovative in our industry, and disseminate that further.
Okay. Eric?
Yes, I believe that, being connected to the community and being transparent for the community to understand what is coming with this huge revolution is really important to my eyes. Of course, through education, more interaction, and being more transparent. But as Yervant said, I believe that we need to bring the people to be concrete actor of this revolution and to use and to apply AI concretely, to understand what is an algorithm and to interact concretely with the industry, with the private sector, but also with the public sector, and to be informed citizens.
Informed citizens. Okay, Patrick.
Yeah, let me give an engineering perspective on this. So this
not another engineering perspective.
So AI is an incredibly brute force, and in a way almost stupid technique. It's incredibly compute expensive to calculate a solution. We can do it because we have so much power and so many transistors. So the advice would be to truly think what is the sweet spot of this application. And it's not always all the algorithms or all the methods that we already have developed. Yeah? There's a particular parts that it's very good at, and there's particular parts that is probably not going to be the sweet spot. And now we say that everything should be AI. No, will be a clever mix where we fill the holes that we cannot fill with conventional methods.
Okay. Thank you for that. So applause for the panel. Thank you for attending. Thank you. And I'm not sure what's going to happen now. We're definitely going down, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.